My parents have always put my sister Cassie first. Cassie did need extra support, as she does have genuine issues with depression and anxiety, but they refused to compromise. It always came at my expense. The final straw was my high school graduation back in 2019. Cassie had a pageant at the same time. The plan was for both of our parents to attend the first half of Cassie's pageant. Our mother would stay at Cassie's pageant, and our dad would leave to attend and record my graduation. Before Dad was about to leave, Cassie said she was having anxiety and needed them both there. He texted me to find my own ride home from graduation. I had been so hopeful that my parents would finally follow through with their promise to be there for me. In the honors sector class photo, I was the only student who didn't have family members come. I felt awful. My mother, dad, and Cassie were already home when I returned. They had ordered dinner and were celebrating Cassie's pageant. They didn't even seem to remember or care about me and my graduation. My parents tried to act friendly and congratulate me, but I ignored them. My mother tried hugging me, but I pushed past her. I decided then that I couldn't depend on them not to disappoint me. My graduation was 3 weeks ago. I didn't even bother contacting my mother, dad, or Cassie. I gave my ceremony tickets to 2 friends and donated the rest. My mother and dad reached out to me, saying they just learned about my ceremony through social media. Neither of them went to college, so they assumed that the college got out at the same time as the local high school. They asked why I hadn't even asked them. I told them that they've proven that I couldn't depend on them by always leaving me a second thought to Cassie. I know she has issues and needs extra support, but they never even tried to compromise, and I didn't want to deal with the disappointment again. My parents told me that they and Cassie were heartbroken that their daughter and sister would disregard them this way. We do have other family members who my parents are much closer with after the global issue. We weren't really involved with each other before, which is why they weren't at my graduation and why we didn't go to their kids' graduations. They know both sides of the story, but tell me I'm an idiot. They said how my parents felt so bad about my high school graduation and that I was being selfish, and that I denied my parents the chance to make it right and finally be able to put their guilt behind them. I switched my social media to private to avoid these comments, but now I'm worried that they're right and that I have been selfish in not understanding Cassie's needs. Am I the idiot? Excuse me? In what world does a pageant trump a high school graduation? I'm so sorry that your parents didn't do better by you. Your family failed you a second time by treating you badly again, by allowing others to call you selfish and an idiot. Congratulations on your achievement. Absolutely 100% not the idiot. Not even close. Like, not even a tiny bit. Why would you trust people who've consistently let you down and failed to celebrate your achievements? Even if your sister was genuinely having an anxiety attack and your dad decided to stay with her, why didn't they rush from her pageant to pick you up from graduation? Why did they celebrate her pageant? I'm sure it wasn't the only one. Why not wait for you? Why assume that college ended at the same time as high school? Why did it not even cross their minds to think, OP's graduating college this year. I wonder when it is. Why did it take seeing something on social media to make them reach out? Also, university commencement dates are set years in advance and are shared on the website. OP's parents could have very easily searched online to find the date, if asking their own child about it was too difficult. They aren't heartbroken at all. They're guilt-ridden. I can only assume that they didn't have the excuse of Cassie having an event to cover for them and are getting questions from other family members who are rapidly doing damage control and trying to pin you as the bad guy. And I'm pretty sure the relatives don't know the full story. As damage control, OP's parents are telling people that they were asking OP about the graduation day, and OP wasn't answering them, so they couldn't possibly know that OP was graduating or when they were. I'm wondering if they even know what major OP is in, or if they cared enough to ask for more than just, what major are you selecting? He even had a kid with him. A few kids were using the equipment, including my son. Some of the kids were playing with the dog. My son is scared of dogs. We don't have one, and he isn't used to being around them. It's just not something he's used to. He tried to go play, but he was running back to me anytime it would get close to him. I asked the owner to keep his unleashed dog away from the playground. He immediately gets defensive. He says, "No, you're the only one with an issue, and my dog deserves to have fun too." I respond by saying, "Playgrounds aren't for dogs. You shouldn't be here." He says to leave him alone and that I'm an idiot. His dog is still running around and even approached my son, looking to play. Of course, my son runs back. We pack up prematurely and leave. We start arguing again, and words are exchanged. Am I wrong here? You're definitely not the idiot then. I'm not sure how I'd proceed in your shoes. Public shaming usually works. Take a video of the guy and the dog unleashed at a park, saying he's breaking the law and he's unwilling to leave, which is prioritizing his animal over the children there. I'm sure there are better solutions than mine, but this is a sticky situation because even though you're right, he's an idiot and won't care. I mean, if there are no signs prohibiting the dogs on the playground, then technically, he has every right to allow his dog there. I understand why you want him to leave, but if he had every right, he wouldn't have any reason to listen. I get where you're coming from though. Playgrounds are for kids, not dogs. But honestly, you should help your son work through his fear of dogs. He will encounter them for the rest of his life. It's unavoidable. So having at least a basic understanding of them is in his best interest. So, if there are no signs against having dogs present, then it's okay for them to be there? I want to point out that it's a dog on the equipment that's only rated for children. Yes, your dog can be there in the area and around the grass, but the equipment is unacceptable. Are there signs that children aren't allowed at dog parks? No, but it's understood that children should not be using the dog equipment or running up to dogs at dog parks. This is a safety issue. The dog could also get injured on the equipment not made for them. I, 22 female, have 3 younger sisters, 20 Ariel, teen Lily, and tween Michelle. My parents have always been very open about favoring Ariel over the rest of us, likely because Ariel has a more social and extroverted personality type, like our parents, whereas Lily and Michelle are quieter and usually stick to a small group of friends. Ariel was the only sibling who shared certain hobbies with our dad, so he especially, but still both of our parents, would show favoritism to Ariel through things such as being involved in her hobbies, having an active interest in her social life, praising her accomplishments, and getting her nicer presents. In contrast, I didn't receive that treatment, and Lily and Michelle currently don't either. I know that our parents are choosing to favor Ariel openly, and their favoritism isn't her fault directly. But Ariel recognizes the favoritism to the point of being able to verbally acknowledge it, yet is okay with it since she's the favorite. She actually rubs it in my, Lily, and Michelle's faces. Just a few weeks ago, Ariel told Lily and Michelle that it was their fault that our dad ignored them by saying something like, "He'd be interested in you as well if you were good at XYZ. If you want that, then you should try getting into XYZ. I only talk to our parents to stay close to Lily and Michelle. I don't make any effort to be involved with Ariel at all." This school year, both Lily and Michelle made the honor roll at their school. Since our mom didn't acknowledge it beyond an, "Oh, good job," and our dad didn't acknowledge it at all, I took Lily and Michelle to Dave & Buster's and some of their other favorite spots to celebrate. I admit we stayed out pretty late. My parents were spending the night somewhere else, so only Ariel was home when we got back. After Lily and Michelle went to bed, I was preparing to leave when Ariel asked to talk. Ariel brought up that I hadn't come to her graduation. I told Ariel that she never came to any of my graduations, plus, she didn't even ask me to be at hers. Ariel told me that her birthday last month was bad enough because a lot fewer people came than she expected, and I didn't get her a present when I clearly had the money to take Lily and Michelle out. Ariel accused me of not liking her or caring about what was going on in her life. I told Ariel, as objectively as possible, that her accusation was true for the reasons explained in the second paragraph. She said herself, "We aren't worthy of being our parents' favorites like she is, so just leave us be." Ariel cried, but I was too tired to deal with her and just went home. I talked to some friends about the situation, and a few told me that they felt bad for Ariel. They said she's also a victim of our parents' favoritism, and now she has to watch her sisters be super close to one another while she's the odd one out. Am I the idiot for still arguing with my friends that Ariel's now 20 and is no victim now that she's an adult? Once Ariel acknowledged it and used it as a reason to actively tease you guys, not the idiot. She's 20 and not a kid, and there's just no reason to coddle her. You're also stepping in for your sisters where your parents are not. That includes Ariel too, who is old enough to get tough love here. I'm mom and dad's favorite. Why don't you treat me like your favorite? Ariel, probably. She has mom and dad's love, but fewer and fewer other people like her enough to attend her birthday party. Let her stew on the consequences of the way she treats her siblings and friends. She may as well get used to being excluded more often, and she has only her attitude to blame for it. She's the idiot, and so are your parents. Considering Ariel's advice, just be better at the things they like, I wonder if she honestly does enjoy what her dad does, or if she feels like she has to win their approval. It's just as abusive towards her. Not that that completely lets her off the hook for her behavior. The problem with growing up like Ariel is that you don't necessarily know what parental love is actually supposed to be like. She may well believe that it's how kids need to earn their parents' love. After all, how is she supposed to know if she's never been shown a healthy parent dynamic? My sister and niece, pre-tween, fell on hard times and needed a place to stay. My wife and I have a daughter, 1 year older, and live in a 2-bedroom townhouse, so there isn't too much space, but we wanted to help out. So we have my niece in my daughter's room and my sister's on the couch. My daughter and niece already had some problems with sharing the room. My daughter's a light sleeper and doesn't like any light or noise, but my niece is scared of the dark and sleeps with a fan or noise machine. We're able to compromise on that, but then my daughter brought up the issue of my niece getting up in the middle of the night and bringing my sister to their room to redo their nighttime routine. It almost always wakes my daughter up. I told my daughter that she could lock the door whenever her niece left the room to get her mom. Now my sister's complaining about my niece getting kicked out of the room every time she gets up to get water or go to the bathroom. Her having to sleep on the floor whenever she needs to give her daughter the couch. I told her that I told my daughter to lock the door when her niece wakes her up, and if she doesn't want to sleep on the floor, tell her niece to stay in her bed at night. Now my sister wants to keep my niece's mattress in the living room, but there's nowhere for her to put it during the day, so I said no. Now she's complaining to my wife, who says our daughter and I are being rude, and I need to stop locking my niece out of the bedroom. My sister also threatened to stop babysitting. She watches the kids after school, because the agreement was that she and her daughter would have a bed. Apparently, I'm going back on that. I told her that if she stopped contributing to the household, she and her daughter could leave. Now my wife and I are fighting over this, and I wanted to know who's the idiot for this. You are the idiot for the way you're treating a young child. She has been displaced from her home. She's been made to feel unwelcome. She's sleeping on the freaking floor for having the audacity to need a drink of water or use the bathroom in the middle of the night. To add, you're teaching your daughter a real lack of compassion. Telling his daughter that her sleep is less important than her cousin going through her bedtime routine repeatedly in the night isn't going to teach her compassion. Sorry, but no one's bedtime routine is important enough to be repeated in the middle of the night on a regular basis, not when doing that tortures someone else. And waking someone up and disrupting their sleep is torture. Not the idiot. The sleeping arrangement is not compatible. Get a twin air mattress and your niece can sleep in the living room. In my opinion, it's a bit more everyone's the idiot here. It's going too far to lock your niece out of the room every time she gets out of bed. Plenty of people need a wee or a drink in the night. That's not unreasonable and should be very minimally disruptive. It is unreasonable to repeat an entire bedtime routine in the middle of the night when another person sleeps in the same room. But it should be enough to tell your sister that if your niece asks to repeat the bedtime routine, the answer either needs to be no, and she goes quietly back to bed, or she stays with your sister for the rest of the night in the living room. If she won't agree to that, she's an idiot. But if you don't give her that opportunity, you are. 3 years ago, my nearly adult female father passed away, and my siblings and I were getting Social Security checks because of it. The money was getting sent to my mother because we were all under 18. At the time, I didn't really understand what that meant or how much she was getting for me. I never asked her for any of my money before, and she's never offered it. I turned 18 in less than a week, and because of that, the money was supposed to stop. My mom found a way for me to keep getting it, but since I'm almost 18, the checks will be sent to me directly. That's the only reason my mom told me about it, because she just can't take it. She doesn't want the full amount like before, but she expects me to give her a certain amount because everyone has to contribute. I told her I wanted the full amount for myself because it was my money for my dad's death. She basically then move out and pay for everything for yourself, by yourself. She hasn't been taking your money for years. She's been getting a government benefit to raise a child, her money. You feel bad because this is the selfish, childish, absolute idiot move. Yep, you're clearly way too immature to be responsible for your own finances. It's not your money or a prize for losing your dad. Those Social Security checks exist for a specific purpose, to replace the income your father would have brought in and used for your care as your parent. That's why they were sent to your mom while you were underage, because they were meant for her to provide life essentials for you, food, shelter, etc. Now that you're 18, the money goes directly to you, but that's only because, as a legal adult, it is assumed that you'll pay your own bills and need the money to help care for yourself. If your mother's still de facto taking care of you, if you're living in her home, not paying rent, and she's providing your food, paying the bills, etc., then the entire amount of the check should still be given to her. The fact that she's willing to compromise shows that she's thoughtful and how much she loves you. Pull your weight and help your mom out.